I begin my Wensleydale walk in the village of Wensley. This walk covers a distance of 9¼ miles. Wensleydale is a beautiful valley in North Yorkshire and one of the renowned Yorkshire Dales. The dale takes its name from the village of Wensley, which was once the valley's market town. The principal river flowing through Wensleydale is the River Ure, giving rise to the alternative name Yoredale. Full details of the walk are available on my website at paulbeale.com, including directions, maps, walk statistics, information about the area, and much more. After parking near Wensley Bridge, I walk down to the River Ure to see the bridge up close. This historic bridge combines parts built in the 15th, 18th and 19th centuries. I can see two pointed arches from the 15th century. Next to them are an arch from the 18th century and another from the early 19th century. A man named Alwine, the rector of Wensley, built it before 1436. The bridge was widened in 1818 and is now a Grade II listed building and a scheduled ancient monument. Crossing the bridge into Wensley village, I stopped to visit Holy Trinity Church. The church was built in the 13th century on the site of an even older Saxon church. Later, changes were made in the 14th and 15th centuries, and a tower was added in 1719. The Scrope family, who lived nearby at Bolton Castle, supported the church for many years. Records of its priests go back to 1181 and end in 2001. Wensley is a small village about 1 mile southwest of Leyburn. It's a great starting point for this walk. The name Wensley comes from Old English and refers to the god Woden. Unlike most dales, which are named after their rivers, Wensleydale is named after this village. Starting in 1202, Wensley was the only market town in the Dale for over 100 years. The village was hit by plague in 1563, but it later recovered when Charles Paulet built Bolton Hall in 1678. I turn left from the main road in Wensley and walk past the village green towards the entrance of the Bolton estate. While my car is parked near Wensley Bridge, there is also parking by the village green. At the gate to the Bolton estate, I pass East Lodge and officially start my walk. I follow a concrete driveway heading west through Wensley Park. Soon, I'll take a path on the right that leads to Tullis Cote. As I enter the Bolton estate, Pen Hill comes into view. The hill stands out and will be visible for most of my walk. Its peak is 526 metres at the eastern end, near Pen Hill Scar, while the western end reaches 553 metres. Glaciers shaped its unique ridge during the last ice age, forming the valley of Wensleydale. I walk past Wensley House on my right. The public footpath to Tullis Cote is just after this house. Walking across a large grassy field from Wensley House, Pen Hill is in sight to the southwest. The name Pen Hill comes from two words both meaning hill. The Brittonic word pen and the Old English word hill, spelt Hyll. A local legend says a giant named Pen Hill used to steal sheep from the area. Before reaching Tullis Cote, I cross the Wensleydale Railway. This heritage railway runs for 22 miles between Northallerton and Redmire. It used to go all the way to Garsdale, but now operates as a scenic railway. I think there are plans to restore the missing section of the track sometime in the future. At Tullis Cote, I arrive at the Keldheads Lane lead smelt mill. The mill, about half a mile east of Preston-under-Scar, was built in the mid-19th century. However, lead mining here started in the 12th century. By the 13th century, the site provided lead for the roof of Jervo Abbey. Some of the remaining buildings include the engine house, chimney and stables. The mine eventually closed because its lower levels kept flooding. It was once the richest lead mine in Yorkshire. Now, the Keldheads Lane lead smelt mill is a scheduled monument. However, plants and weather damage are slowly wearing it down. I leave Tullis Cote and head west to Preston-under-Scar. The village is mentioned in the Domesday Book and belonged to Thorfinn of Ravensworth. The name means priest's farm under the rock and comes from Old English and Norse words. Preston-under-Skye didn't have its own church, so villagers used to attend services at Holy Trinity Church in Wensley. In 1862, they built St Margaret's Mission Room as a local place to worship. It is now a Grade 2 listed building and still holds services twice a month. From the western end of the village, I follow a footpath across the fields and cross the Wensleydale railway again before reaching Woodend Lane. On Woodend Lane, I stop for a break at a small walled garden opposite St Mary's Church, just outside Redmire. The peaceful setting makes it a perfect spot for coffee. I visit St Mary's Church, which dates back to around 1150. The building has a simple nave and chancel with a bellcote. From the 13th century until the dissolution of the monasteries, one of the canons of Coverham Abbey served this church and lived nearby at Priory House, which still stands. The church's Norman doorway is well preserved and has stone seats outside. A local story says the sexton sat here on Midsummer's Eve to watch for ghosts of people who would die within the year. Inside there is a stretch of Norman decoration, and narrow windows have been reshaped into pointed ones. Above the pulpit, a corbel once supported the rood beam, and the wooden roof dates back to the 15th century. The octagonal stone front from the 13th century has been restored. The church was heavily renovated in 1894. Above the porch, a window once lit a choir gallery. A blocked low side window was originally used for confessions, but was closed by Henry VIII. A scratch dial on the south wall helped time services. Inside, I find several monuments, including the Royal Arms of George I from 1720. These arms show England's old claim to the French throne. A memorial honours the other family, who lived in Redmire from the 17th century. Across the fields, Elm House, their former home, still stands. The churchyard contains many interesting gravestones. Two of them mention the goalkeeper of Richmond and the soap chandler at Bolton. One unique headstone, shaped like a grandfather clock, has a copper plate dated 1825. St Mary's Church is well outside Redmire village, and its location is mysterious. Some say the village moved after the plague, while others believe the church was always meant to serve a wider area. Leaving the church, I continue my walk into Redmire. This pretty village has appeared in the BBC show All Creatures Great and Small, starring Christopher Timothy as James Herriot, Robert Hardy as Siegfried Farnan, Peter Davison as Tristan Farnan, and Carol Drinkwater as Helen. On Redmire's Green, I find a stone monument with a lamppost on top. Plaques on the monument mark Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee in 1887, Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee in 1977, and the Platinum Jubilee in 2022. The Redmire Village Pub, formerly the Bolton Arms, has been welcoming visitors since the 1750s. It's a cosy spot for walkers, offering local ales and a warm welcome for dogs and muddy boots. I leave Redmire and head south along Mill Lane. Turning right after Mill Lane, I join a permissive footpath. The path takes me through a wooded area and across a meadow before reaching the River Ure. The River Ure is the principal river of Wensleydale. It stretches approximately 74 miles from its source on Abbotside Common to the point where it becomes the River Ouse. Unlike most Yorkshire Dales, which are typically named after their rivers, such as Swaledale, the River Swale, and Wharfedale, the River Wharfe, Wensleydale derives its name from the village of Wensley. Crossing Abedale Beck, a small stream flowing into the River Ure, I use a narrow metal footbridge, which is no more than a girder. The River Ure has a long history. Its oldest name, Earp, dates back to 1025. Later, it was called Joe, which influenced names like Jervo Abbey. It comes from the old word meaning strong river. Finally, I reach Redmire Force, a series of beautiful waterfalls on the River Ure. The water flows over 3 rocky drops, its golden brown colour coming from the peat it has absorbed on the moors. Looking across the river at Redmire Force, I see the rocky formation known as Force Scar. After enjoying the falls, I retrace my steps to the permissive path. Instead of going back up Mill Lane, I follow a footpath leading towards Well Lane. This path offers great views of the River Ure from above. It's a quieter route, with a couple of handy benches. The narrow path turns into a wider stone track, which passes a farmhouse before reaching Well Lane. After reaching Well Lane, I follow a footpath that crosses multiple fields in a southeasterly direction. This route eventually brings me into a large wooded area known as West Wood. From occasional gaps in the trees, I see Pen Hill in the distance and the village of West Witton at its base. Below, the River Ure winds through the valley. Coming out of West Wood, I pass Bolton Hall, built in 1675 for Charles Paulet, the first Duke of Bolton. The hall is still home to the family of the current Baron Bolton. From Bolton Hall, I follow a concrete road lined with trees back towards Wensley. I pass Middle Lodge and stroll through Wensley Park, nearing the end of my walk. Leaving Wensley Park, I return to the village on my car. This 9-mile walk has been a fantastic way to experience the history and beauty of Wensleydale. As mentioned earlier, full details of the walk are available on my website at paulbeal.com, including directions, maps, walk statistics, and more information about the area.